Good morning and welcome to another financial analysis video. Today I'm going to talk about Ford Motor Company and their September 2015 U.S. sales. Overall, it was a really good month for Ford. They were up 23% year over year. Now keep in mind, Ford has recently gone through a big branding and a big capital shift. And a year ago, their sales were much lower because they were clearing out some old product in anticipation for new. So analysts expected 22% year-over-year gains, and we ended up with 23. So while the surge was expected, they actually ended up beating the surge. I want to start by looking and going over here, taking a look at some of the general overall sales data. So this chart right here represents U.S. sales for Ford by month going back to 2013. And one of the things you'll notice is during the cold months, January, and January, the winter months are really tough on Ford. This is sort of a seasonal type thing for them. We could add a trend line if we want to and just kind of take a look at how this looks for them over the past 2.5 years, slowly growing. And this is a big company, so growing from 200,000 sales per month vehicle units upward is a pretty big endeavor. But Ford really has been above that trend since March, and they've had a very good sales year for 2015. I want to go over here as well and take a look at something I briefly mentioned a little earlier about the year-over-year differences. I also wanted to bring 2013 into the picture to represent how big of a month this really has been for Ford. Last year wasn't just an anomaly, but the prior year, Ford had very similar numbers to 2014. And so for them to bounce like this is very encouraging. So a very good month indeed for Ford, a very good September for them. Last but not least, this chart, which has cut out some of the there's more models in here than what this chart is showing, but essentially this chart is every single model Ford sells and their year-over-year impacts. All of the Lincoln models are up here. This is the Transit model, which is new, so it's going to shoot up. This is the Mustang, which had a 200% year-over-year increase. What I'm going to do now is, in order to narrow the focus in here, I'm going to eliminate all of the Lincoln models from this chart. I am going to eliminate the Transit, the Mustang, and the Transit models. Kind of whittle this down a little bit so you can see what's going on. So heavy truck sales in E-Series. If you look at the vehicles that had a bad month, the Taurus, that's interesting. That's a new vehicle that Ford really has tried to put out there, and it did not have a good month. The Focus, the Flex, those are high fuel efficiency vehicles, so they're being replaced in terms of sales by things like SUVs like the Explorer and the trucks like the F-Series. I want to narrow this chart down further, and I want to get rid of some of their lower selling vehicles. Let's get rid of the Interceptor. There's a couple of them. Let's get rid of the E-Series. Let's get rid of the heavy trucks. That takes care of down here. And I really just want to focus on some of their higher profit vehicles. We'll keep the Flex up there. We talked about the Taurus. I'm going to drop the C-Max and now turn to this. So, the Flex and the Focus, high fuel efficiency vehicles, didn't have a good month. The Expedition really competes with the Explorer. And the thing to look at here is that the Explorer, the Escape, the Fusion, and the F-Series, those are the big models for Ford. They're the ones that had the big month. And it's very, very encouraging to see that, especially with something like the Explorer coming back in in a low fuel price market. Ford, in my opinion, wrapping this up, it has a really good hedge here. So they got good sales coming in with low energy prices, but with the aluminum vehicles that they're working on now, they have lighter vehicles that'll help load weights for your more industrial, your F-Series trucks, and they'll help fuel mileage, which is a good hedge to have if and when energy prices bounce back. So I'm sticking with Ford. I'm not going to add to my position. I'm going to hold it, and I'm very bullish on Ford's operations and U.S. sales of vehicles as a whole. I hope you enjoyed this vehicle. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. Have a great